Hey, this is Innovators Mindset with Jason Fulmer and Angie Wright. There we go. Let's go. All right. I am with Jason Fulmer and Angie Wright, and I am actually going to be joining you all for Learning Forward in South Carolina. This is coming up in October, and it's in like it's Columbia, right? Columbia, South Carolina, right?
Columbia.
And you know, it's
Home of the
funny.
Fighting Gamecocks.
I actually met someone. I was at a conference, and they're like, "Hey, yeah, I'm like from Columbia." And I'm like, "South Carolina?" No, I'm from Columbia. I'm like, "Oh, okay, two different places." But yeah, I didn't know there was a Columbia, South Carolina until I met, until this event. So I am so excited to work with you and to be a part of your conference. But I do want to learn more about you and the work that you do. And I will tell you, everyone that's listening. Angie and I, when we first talked about this conference, this is what I really love about this. I I said, hey, let's talk. Like you asked me, you inquired about me coming, and I said, hey, here's some things that I would do maybe different than what maybe you're used to. And this is what I loved about you, Angie. You're like, yeah, let's do something different because we're always asking teachers in classrooms, we're asking schools to do things differently. But then a lot of the professional learning experiences are exactly the same as they've been years and years prior. I'm not saying in every place, but in too many places. And it's like, hey, if we want to actually be innovative in our classrooms, we got to really think differently about how professional learning is delivered, how you make it really personalized to the people in front of you, and how important that is. So I will just say how appreciative I was that you were open to. I won't even use the word open. You were like excited to like, yeah, let's do this differently. So I'm excited about this too. So did I throw you off when I first brought that up, or?
No, not at all. I mean, that's one of the reasons we reached out to you, actually. And Jason and I have really tried to kind of rethink how we do this conference. Not that it was done poorly or the wrong way in the past, but we just know that folks are seeking new and innovative opportunities for their own classrooms, and we wanted to provide that for them in this conference as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that we talked about prior, and that was really important, is that you give people space to come there to learn not only from people bringing new ideas, but from each other. But I think one of the things that I really try to advocate and create a space is how are they connecting after the fact? So it's not just like a one day thing that you just kind of do it, you move forward, but you're actually building a network. And you kind of mentioned this, Jason, before, and I thought it was really, really powerful. There's a lot of times people are like, well, we can't do this because of that. But one of the things that you said you're doing at the conference is you're really kind of focused on bringing in schools that have already done really great things so they can learn from each other. And so why is that like so essential to this event?
Think creating the conditions and the drivers for success by seeing real practical examples from schools that are defying the odds is incredible. And even more powerful is hearing from South Carolina teachers and leaders about what they're doing in their schools to move students forward. And I think our mission is simple at Learning Forward, to really make professional learning a driver for better teaching and better student outcomes. And so seeing those showcase schools as a part of our event is essential.
And I can't remember. I've written a lot over the years, but one of the things that I've said before is somebody somewhere is doing the exact same thing you say you can't do. They just found a way. And what I love is that you're saying, yeah, we're going to show you the way. We're going to show you the people that are like, hey, they're working the same constraints that you have, and really kind of figuring this out. And so I don't like before we get more into the conference, more about some of the things that are going to happen that day. I would love to and this is so many organizations like South Carolina Learning Forward. You both have other roles that you're doing, but you're volunteering your time to be a part of this. So Angie, tell a little bit about yourself, what you did before, and how you actually got to the place that you're working with South Carolina Learning Forward now.
Great. Thank you for that opportunity. I have been in public education in South Carolina my entire adult life. I started out as a teacher and moved into assistant principal, and then worked at the district level. That was my job that I retired from, was chief academic officer in a small rural district here in South Carolina, and have just had the opportunity to be part of some phenomenal professional learning experiences myself, even as a teacher. And so it's always been a passion of mine. It's what I loved about my district level job is I got to really grow and push both teachers and leaders in their thinking and hopefully make them better along the way, impacting kids as a result of that. And so through some of that, I've been affiliated with a variety of our state organizations. When I was middle school principal, I was part of the Middle School Association Board, then went on to become a part of the South Carolina Association of School Administrators Board, which kind of connected me into South Carolina Learning Forward as well. And have just had lots of connections and networking opportunities with people like Jason along the way. And he actually called me up. I had just decided to retire from my role in the
Good luck.
district. And he was
Good
like,
luck with that.
hey, would you be willing to be the president-elect? You'd follow me. I'll help you. I'll support you. And of course, I have a hard time saying no. I'm still involved working with districts and schools out of state in a coaching role and love every minute of that. And so getting to stay connected with Learning Forward is just a real opportunity as well.
Now, before we get to you, Jason, I do want to ask you something, Angie. And this is something, I know you have so many different experiences and not just like at the district level, but, across the state. So for years, I have worked with different organizations, school districts in South Carolina specifically. And I would say it's a pretty forward-thinking state education-wise. Now, again, my view is I've been there a couple places, but I've met some really incredible educators from there. I've worked with some really incredible school districts, and and it's not to say there's no issues. There's not to say there's no things that could be better in education or anything like that. But when we were talking before, I know you see similar things. Why do you think that is? What do you think is kind of driving that specifically in the state of South Carolina that's actually helping to support staff, helping to you really kind of, push the boundaries of what's possible in the state for education?
Well, for one thing, our size really helps us and is a benefit, I think. I told you I worked in a small rural district for my whole career. I've worked in two different places that were similar, but really neighboring with one another. And just the opportunity to make those connections and build that network. We're small enough that just before we got on, we were talking about a colleague that you and I both know. I'll give a little shout out for Sean Clark.
All right. Just wait, Sean, if you're listening. There you go. You get that.
She and I used to work in neighboring districts in similar roles, and we partnered all the time to do some professional learning opportunities for our teachers and our leaders. We were actually part of the National Learning Forward. I can't even remember. It's the
Academy.
Academy. Thank you, Jason. I completely drew a blank because I got so excited talking about Sean. But we were part of the Learning Forward Academy together, and that was a 2-year cohort process. And I have multiple people like that across the state geographically that I could shout out to that really helped and supported me in my role. And I just think that happens in our state, whether you're a teacher or an administrator or an instructional coach. And being able to leverage those relationships and learn from one another helps us to stay connected, but also do better for our kids.
It's actually funny. If people didn't hear, obviously, the prior to recording, I literally just said this first name from some guy we know. It's didn't matter where they're from. They just knew everybody. And I do want to point out one thing, Angie, that I think is really probably why you and I connected so easily when we do this. So if I was to ask certain people, what is the thing that's holding you back? And some people would say it's because we're so small. Or some places would be like, hey, we're too big, right? So it's like, hey, everyone's going to have you're either too big or you're too small. But hey, big, you have maybe access to more resources than smaller communities. So you start looking for the leverage. We're small, we're closer knit community. We learn from each other. So I think that's a really important thing is that sometimes what people would see as the detriment is actually can be used to your advantage if you think that way. And so I really appreciated that answer because it's I've literally got, hey, we can't do this because we're small. It's no, actually we can do this because we're small. which is like a totally different way of thinking. So I just really, it really hit home with me when you mentioned that, because that's not where I thought you were going with it. But I'm like, oh, of course, that totally makes sense. And I did love I'm like, do you know Sean? You're like, yeah, I know Sean Clark. I'm like, of course you do. Of course you do. I just said one name from the state. So, Jason, I know that you have been doing work with Learning Forward in South Carolina, but also you have your own, like you all do, right? You all have work because you're all volunteer. And so tell us a little bit about some of that experience and how it connects to some of the work that's happening with Learning Forward in South Carolina.
Certainly. Well, I've been partying like it's 1999. This is my year 26 in education, and absolutely love it. Began my career as a third grade teacher, and actually worked and had the humbling opportunity to serve as South Carolina's Teacher of the Year, and that was an amazing experience that allowed me to be a part of different networking opportunities and experiences, and actually join Learning Forward back then, and had the opportunity to really connect in our state after that year of traveling as the state teacher. Went back to my home district, Aiken County Schools, and served as our Title II coordinator for professional learning, and worked as an induction teacher coach. And that allowed me to have opportunities to connect with state leaders and teachers from around the state, and actually worked for a number of years at our South Carolina Center for Teacher Recruitment and Retention and Advancement to create opportunities for teacher leaders and mentors to make sure that new teachers have what they need to be successful, and that we equip teacher leaders to really continue to be innovative in their approaches. Through those experiences, had the opportunity to join a national nonprofit and work there, really continuing those efforts. And then took a leap of faith, as I mentioned to you, and started Dream Developer Network, which I always say that as educators, we give feet to dreams, and we're in the dream developing business. So with Dream Developer Network, I partner with states and districts, higher ed, education organizations to really support and equip educators with what they need to be successful in helping students succeed.
You know, that to me is, we're always in education saying like kids need, to pursue your dreams, whatever. But then a lot of us like, this kind of the end of the road for us. And it's, and I think that kids are more likely to aspire to something really great when they see the people that work with them still aspiring to whatever their passion is, whatever their interest is, and sharing that too. And so I really appreciate that you share that. I will tell you, I'm a little jealous you won State Teacher of the Year, because I have never won anything. Like I've never even won like those teacher raffles. I've not won anything. Like when it's just like somebody's going to win something. But I am also like, one day I'll get something. Who knows, right? But
an invitation to South Carolina.
Yeah, there you go. That's my award. I love it. I'll take it. The one thing I think I'm really curious about, because I know again, you don't know, just know people in South Carolina. I mentioned Dorina, I think it's Sackman, Miss Dorito. She's incredible. I met her weirdly enough, she's the Florida Teacher of the Year a couple of years ago, and I met her in South Carolina, of all things. And so when you had that opportunity to connect with all these other Teacher of the Year and kind of go through that cohort, and because some people, let's be honest, some people are like, oh, that was nice, you had a year off. And it's like, no, that's not actually what's happening. How did that connection at the national level, benefit South Carolina, right? Benefit the work that you're doing in South Carolina? Like, how did you see that process playing out?
It was such an incredible opportunity to go and showcase what South Carolina is doing well, and was honored to be a finalist for the National Teacher of the Year. And through that experience, Dorina, also as a former Florida Teacher of the Year, was a national finalist as well. And just to connect with passionate people who care about what they do every day. There's something special about being in a room filled with passionate educators who truly believe in possibilities. And something you mentioned earlier about kind of dreams. Served in a Title I school. I created this memory book that I use with my students, and actually, one of the prompts was what they wanted to be, of course, when they grow up. And I always told them that once they're my kids, they're always my kids. And those dreams come true. I now have a veterinarian. I now have a nurse. I have a teacher. I have someone serving in the military. And it's fun to see what they wrote in third grade is where they are now today. And so it's just kind of fun to kind of reminisce and think about all the opportunities we have to network and help our students succeed.
That is just so incredible. And I didn't post it yet, but I wrote it yesterday. I talked about one of the things that really matters is you, and my friend Megan Lawson would push me on this, and Allison Apsey, because I remember writing a post that, hope is not a strategy. And they were like, nah, don't talk about that. Like that's not what hope is. You're getting hopes and wishes mixed up. And I talked about just having hope for your future. Once you kind of give up on that future, then your dream is dead. If you still believe that you can achieve that, and so like having a teacher that inspires that really, really matters. The thing that when you're talking about your experience, when I was working at a school district, I was slowly moving part-time. And I remember talking to my superintendent about it, and he's like, you're going off to all these conferences, you're doing this stuff, like what is the benefit? I said, because I'm like seeing, like, yeah, I'm presenting there, but I'm going to sessions too, and I'm seeing other incredible teachers, and you're not paying me while I'm there. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take those ideas and I'm going to bring them back. And it just pushed our schools, our district to a totally different place, because I'm able to see all these incredible things. And it's like kind of one of the things we talked about at the conference, highlighting some of these incredible schools and seeing that, and what opportunities that brings back is like, we never did one thing exactly like another school district did, but we modified a lot of it. We're like, hey, that's awesome, but if we tweak this, we did this a little bit different, make it really applicable to our community, because like I think a lot of times we just want the answer, but it's you have to kind of mess around with it and figure out where does this fit in your context, because I know both of you are really focused on community, building relationships, and so you know your people better than anybody. So how do you modify those things? And I think that really kind of goes into both of what you're talking about, the theme of the event that's coming up. And I'm curious on why. I kind of know why, but I'm like, I want everyone else to know why. You have it as navigating what's possible. And so I'll start with Angie. Why was that something that was really important as a theme for the conference coming up? And I don't even think just solely for the conference, but really kind of the year ahead of what why is navigating what's possible so important?
Well, I'll kind of start and play off of what Jason just finished talking about. I have a friend, Matt Jensen, who is a superintendent in Montana, and he always talks about how important the work that we do is. Like, there's no other job where you have the privilege and the amount of time that we spend with someone else's kid, the influence that we can make on that. And so, navigating what's possible isn't just about navigating what's possible for your school or for your classroom. It's navigating what's possible, to infinity, because the number of kids that we have the capacity to impact just through a single day conference with teachers, instructional coaches, leaders coming and not only getting to hear from the phenomenal George Couros, but also getting to hear from schools in our state. We are going to actually have some choice sessions around lunchtime where they'll get to hear from some of our State Department of Education leaders as well. And so there's just an infinite amount of learning, networking, and connecting that can happen on this day. And it will hopefully be something that folks can take right back into their classroom settings or whatever their work context is the very next day, and share with others.
Yeah, like when you're talking about this, I think like I kind of just started self-reflecting on some of my pathways. I grew up in a small town in Canada, and just like in South Carolina, we know everybody. It's just the countrywide instead of the state. But I could not. If you told me when I was like 30 what I'd be doing today, like I would not believe you. Like I get to travel the world, work with these incredible educators, and I think that sometimes when like everything that I've done was accidental. I never started writing because I wanted to be a writer. I started writing because I was a principal, and I was thinking, how do we actually get kids to do portfolios? And then it started opening up doors for me I didn't even know existed. And so my focus is how do you actually help kids open those doors to themselves so they can find them? And, even some of the things that they don't even consider a possibility, actually find them. And that's really kind of what happened to me. And I think you put kids in a situation where that's something I'm really passionate about. So I love, that's the theme of the conference. So Jason, why was that important to you as well? And I know you're still like, are you the president still? Like which one, who's
President, yes.
the president? So like, is there like going to be a coronation and stuff that day, or like what happens there? Is like a big ceremony? Is there like
We're
a
just
crown?
excited. We're just excited to be a part of the day for sure.
I love it.
Definitely not about a title, but an opportunity to serve.
All right.
And I think, as we thought about Angie and I really thinking through with our fabulous board, as you mentioned, we're all volunteers, but we care about what we do every day. And being a part of a statewide network is really important for us. Navigating what's possible, I think your message is rooted in relationships. It's rooted in innovation, but you understand the power of relationships is most critical to success. And I think when we think about navigating what's possible, we want this conference to give our teams of teachers, leaders, coaches, ideas that they can implement right away the next day. So we want to invite the districts to send teams. We want the conference to give them tools and strategies and connections that they can take back immediately. This isn't a sit and get event. This is an opportunity for them to find their pathways to success. And I believe that in education, it's rewarding work, it's challenging work. But South Carolina educators are doing incredible work. We want to amplify that impact, and we want to create the conditions where people feel celebrated and elevated and ready to go back and continue to lead.
That the one thing you said is like a mantra of mine is, how do you help students find a pathway to success that is meaningful to them? And I'll sometimes just say, how do you help learners? Because I actually, like, I don't want to limit it to only our students, but anyone willing to grow, willing to develop. And when Angie and I first talked about the event, it is kind of interesting because it was actually, I don't know if you remember this, Angie. I was like, hey, what's your phone number? And you're like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's talk. And it's, that for me is, I want to create the best experience possible. And I can't do that unless I know you and I know what you're hoping for, what you're trying to do. And the emphasis for me on this day, really kind of connecting to both of your themes, is I'm not telling you what's possible. That's not my role. It's for you to find that out. But how do I help you figure that out? Is I'm doing everything to personalize it, to really kind of understand who is in the room, who is there. And so the structure of the day that we kind of talked about going into this, that you're really excited about, is I'm going to share some ideas with people, but then really kind of figure out what they're happening. And I always joke, I'm like, look, listen, if that part sucks, it's kind of your fault because it's what you're asking. But that is really important to me, is that you honor people in the room. And so even in the short amount of time, my goal is to really build rapport with people, that they kind of see why I'm there, but they also trust me to push back and have some great conversations. But then really kind of they're figuring out their own pathway forward. Because I don't like, I know this sounds weird, I don't like being told what to do. So I don't like telling people what to do. But I do want to share some ideas. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the whole premise of the innovator's mindset is you got to figure out your own pathway forward. And I think that's what you're hoping to, is that people just walked out with all these excitement about what's possible and what, like, not only what's possible, but they see it as probable now. Then they walk out of there too. So here's me putting myself on the spot. So I'm there, and we've talked. You're really making me feel that you're excited about me coming there, and you keep throwing "the" in front of my name, which I don't like, but whatever. If I do a good job on that day, and I'll start with you, Jason, what does that look like to you? How do you know I've done a good job? Like, what would that look like when people walk out of there on that day?
I think it connects directly with what we're hoping to accomplish with this year's conference. As you mentioned, you're helping people find their pathways to success. They have to drive. You're giving them opportunities to find their roadmap. But I think what's exciting is I think we'll know we've been successful when the George Couros is there in person in the room, but that, George, you inspire people to be learners. I think that's really important, that we're kind of positioning ourselves in that room as learners, And then we're collaborating and connecting with one another, sharing ideas and resources and strategies, and then following up with one another. That's what success looks like to me.
Yeah, and we were talking before the podcast. This year, going to school openings, I mentioned it, and I feel like I have never felt this much excitement. And like, if you're like, well, it's not in our school district. Well, I'm not saying I was to every school district, but the excitement for people just to push themselves and to really kind of grow and see the opportunities for kids. I wrote about why I thought it was so important, like why that happened. And it was really, you saw superintendents with a vulnerability. You saw people really focusing on really having structures in their schools, making sure character really mattered. Kids, really knocked down the basics really, really well, so we can kind of go above and beyond that process. So that, to me, your focus on people coming there as learners, that's the best way to become a great teacher, is to really understand learning from that point of view. And so it's not just the stuff I'm sharing. I'm hoping it's kind of the structure and rethinking, like, what could professional learning look like? And I'm hoping people walk out there and like, you know what, we need to kind of redo some of this stuff for our adults, not just the kids, but for the adults. So Angie, I'll let you close off. If I'm doing a good job, because I've been talking you out, so I got a lot of pressure on me. What does that look like to you?
Well, first of all, I need to do a quick sidebar and tell you that the day you sent me that message and said, "Hey, can I call you?" I was with some of my team members out in Arizona in a car, and that came up on my phone, and I was like, "Oh, George Couros wants to talk to me." The George Couros, and they were all extremely jealous. So we're hyping you up big time because it's going to be a phenomenal day. But I would say to you that learning is extremely personal, right? And so we want for everybody that comes that day to have a personal experience where they walk away feeling inspired, where they lean in and they get what they need, and they're able to take that back into their context and hopefully share it with others. Whether it's their teacher friend down the hall, whether it's their kiddos in some context of innovators mindset, whatever it might be. But we want them to walk away being proud of what they have chosen to do and to be able to really do it well.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna tell you, I'll do my best at this, but just sitting down with both of you just totally filled me up. Like, it just, I know how passionate you are about education, the state. And I think, and listen, if you're listening out of state, you can come out of state too. Is that true? Like, you can come on in, right? So we'd love to see you. But I'm excited to be there because every time I go to South Carolina, I feel I become better through that process. But I'm very intentional to ensure that I'm like creating spaces where I can learn from the people in the room as well. Like, if you don't create that, then you won't get better either. So I'm trying to like learn and grow too. And I just have been blessed over the years, working in the state, connecting with people all over, and just South Carolina has been doing some really amazing things. And I know the reason why that's probably happening is because they're always wanting to get better, right? And if you always have that want to get better, you will. And I think that really matters to me. So I honestly cannot wait to join you. I'm actually going to throw the link down to register. So if you're out of state and you want to like come see cool things, you should sign up too. I would love for you to be there and just kind of see some of the stuff I'm hyping up in South Carolina because they're doing some really incredible things. So Angie and Jason, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being on the podcast. I cannot wait to see you in person. It's coming up very soon in October. So thanks everyone for listening, and thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful day.